Welcome to Noir Intellect. I'm your host, Adrian Cole, tonight. The truth refuses to stay buried. If you enjoy the journey into mystery, don't forget to like and subscribe to Noir Intellect and tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. Now, the mystery begins.
Chapter 1. The papers Archie signed. The man who came to take possession of Nero Wolfe's office arrived at 10:17 in the morning, which was fortunate for him, because Wolfe was upstairs with the orchids. Had he arrived during breakfast, Fritz might have killed him with a serving spoon. I opened the front door and found a narrow man in a dark raincoat holding a leather case against his chest. Behind him stood two uniformed court officers and a tall gentleman in a charcoal suit, whose silver tie looked expensive enough to require a guard of its own. The narrow man said, "Archie Goodwin. That depends on the purpose. Service of legal notice, then no." He looked at a card. "You are Archie Goodwin." "People keep saying so." He removed a thick envelope from the case. "This is formal notice of transfer, possession, and immediate enforcement concerning the business known as the Nero Wolfe Detective Agency, including its offices, equipment, records, contractual interests, and operating assets." The tall man smiled. It was not a pleasant smile, though it had probably cost him years of practice. "I am Adrian Cole," he said. "That sounds difficult, but perhaps it can be treated." His smile remained. The messenger extended the envelope. "You have been served." I did not take it. One of the court officers said, "Mr. Goodwin, refusing the paper does not cancel service." "I know." I was considering whether the envelope matched the haul. The messenger placed it on the small table beside the umbrella stand. Cole looked past me toward the office. "We will come in." "No." He nodded to the officers. The older one produced a folded order bearing a court stamp. "We are authorized to enter and secure the transferred property." "Transferred by whom?" "Mr. Wolfe." That was enough to get them across the threshold. I led them into the office because it was better than letting court officers explore the brownstone and discover that Fritz regarded strangers in the kitchen as a form of burglary. The office was in proper condition. Wolfe's enormous chair stood behind his desk. My desk faced it at an angle. Books lined the walls. The globe occupied its corner. The red leather chair waited for a client with money or trouble, preferably both. Adrian Cole walked to Wolfe's desk and placed one hand on its edge. I said, "Move that." He looked at me. "Your hand. This desk belongs to me." "Your hand still doesn't." He removed it. The messenger opened the envelope and spread documents across the desk. The first was a transfer agreement. The second was a certificate of assignment. The third was a court order, recognizing Cole as the lawful owner of the agency and granting him possession of the business premises used by it. I read the first page, then the second. Then I returned to the first. At the bottom appeared Nero Wolfe's signature. Beneath it appeared mine, Archie Goodwin, witness. Beside both signatures was an embossed company seal showing the initials NWDA. I had seen that seal only twice. Wolfe kept it locked in the bottom drawer of his desk and considered its use an unnecessary surrender to commerce. Cole watched me. "You recognize the signatures." "I recognize the names. The agreement was signed 6 weeks ago. I wasn't here." "You signed as witness." "I have signed many things. This isn't one of them." The messenger tapped a paragraph. "The document transfers the detective agency, all files, active contracts, equipment, goodwill, and legal interests to Mr. Cole in satisfaction of a private financial obligation." I looked at Cole. "What obligation?" "That is between Mr. Wolfe and me. Then it won't remain private long." One of the officers moved toward the filing cabinets. I stepped in front of him. "No files. The order includes records. The order can sit in the red chair until Wolfe comes down." Cole checked his watch. "He has until sunset to leave the office. Wolfe does not leave this office because a man with a silver tie becomes ambitious. The court order is valid. Then the court has had a bad morning." Cole moved around the desk and looked at Wolfe's chair. He did not sit in it. That was his first intelligent decision. "Where is Mr. Wolfe?" "Working." "At what?" "Orchids." Cole gave a small laugh. "That will end." I looked at him. "What will?" "The plant rooms. They are an operating expense of the agency." That was when the problem became serious. I went to the office phone and called the plant rooms. Theodore answered. Send Mr. Wolfe down. He is examining the new Miltonia routes. Tell him a man has bought the office. There was a pause. What? Use those words. I hung up. Cole sat in the red leather chair. The messenger remained standing. The officers positioned themselves near the door and the filing cabinets, making it clear that they expected resistance but preferred not to enjoy it. I picked up the agreement again. It was 12 pages long. The language was thick, precise, and unfriendly. Wolfe had supposedly sold the agency for $1 and released from a debt arising from a private guarantee. The document referred to a schedule of assets attached as Exhibit B. Exhibit B included the desks, chairs, safe, filing cabinets, telephones, typewriters, library reference materials, active case retainers, future fees, and rights to the business name. It did not include the brownstone itself. That was something. The office door opened. Wolfe entered. He wore his orchid room clothes, a brown shirt, loose trousers, and a yellow vest. His face was composed, but Theodore followed him only as far as the hall and then withdrew, which meant the plant rooms had heard something offensive. Wolfe stopped 3 steps inside. He saw the strangers. He saw the papers on his desk. He saw Adrian Cole in the red leather chair. His eyes came to me. Archie, this is Adrian Cole. He owns us. Wolfe's brows rose. Cole stood. Mr. Wolfe, I have been trying to meet you for some time. You have failed until now. Sit elsewhere. Cole glanced at the chair. Wolfe said, That chair is for clients. I am the owner. No. You are an intruder with documents. Cole moved to a straight-backed chair. Wolfe crossed to his desk, but he did not sit. The papers occupied his blotter, and Wolfe disliked sitting before disorder. He looked down at the agreement. The messenger said, Mr. Wolfe, you have been formally served with an order recognizing the transfer of your detective agency to Mr. Cole. Wolfe read the first page, then the last. His eyes rested on the signatures. Archie? Yes? Come here. I went to the desk. He pointed at my name. Is that your signature? It looks like it. That was not my question. I did not sign this agreement. Wolfe pointed at his own signature. I did not sign it either. Cole leaned back. You signed before a witness. Wolfe looked at him. Who are you? Adrian Cole, president of Cole Strategic Holdings. That is a title, not an answer. Cole's smile returned. My company finances private security operations, investigation firms, and risk management services. Your agency became available through a lawful agreement. Nothing of mine becomes available. The agreement says otherwise. Wolfe picked up the embossed seal and examined it. Archie, open the bottom drawer. I did. The agency seal was gone. The velvet-lined box remained, but it was empty. Wolfe looked at me. When did you last see it? 3 months ago, when you complained about the bank requiring it. Who has a key to this drawer? You and me. Fritz? No. Theodore? No, Cole said. The seal on the agreement has already been authenticated. By whom? Wolfe asked. A document examiner appointed by the court. Appointed upon whose request? Mine. Convenient. The older officer spoke. Mr. Wolfe, authenticity was considered at the hearing. What hearing? The petition for informs filed 4 days ago. I received no notice. Cole folded his hands. Notice was delivered to this address. I looked at the messenger. He checked another paper. Signed receipt. Archie Goodwin. He showed it to me. My signature appeared again, this time beneath a date from the previous week. I had been in Chicago that day, interviewing a man who had stolen $600,000 and claimed he had misplaced it. I was not in New York, I said. Cole shrugged. The court accepted service. Wolfe finally sat. His chair received him with its usual complaint. Archie, where were you on June 9th? Chicago. Proof? Train tickets, hotel bill, 3 witnesses, and a detective lieutenant who disliked me. Good, Cole said. That may affect the service receipt, not the transfer agreement. Wolfe looked down the length of the desk. You claim I owed you money. Your agreement guaranteed a private investment made by another party. Name the party. Confidential. Then the debt is imaginary. The court found otherwise. Courts sometimes mistake procedure for fact. The younger officer moved toward the safe. I said, Don't. He stopped. Cole looked at his watch again. Mr. Wolfe, the order gives me immediate control of the business. You may remove personal belongings before sunset. After that, any property remaining in the office will be treated as an agency asset. Wolfe's head turned slowly toward him. My books? Listed. My desk? Listed. My chair? Listed. Files? Listed. The orchids? Cole smiled. The plant rooms support the agency's public identity and client operations. My lawyers believe they are included. Wolfe closed his eyes. That was not surrender. It was the stage before violence, though with Wolfe the violence usually occurred in grammar. After several seconds he opened them. You will leave. Cole stood. I will not. You will leave voluntarily, or Mr. Goodwin will remove you. The older court officer stepped forward. Any physical interference will violate the order. Wolfe looked at him. What is your name? Officer Thomas Reed. Mr. Reed, do you believe this agreement transfers ownership of the brownstone? No. Only the business and listed property. Then I remain master of the house, within the limits of the order. Mr. Cole is not listed property. Reed considered that. Cole said, I have a right to inspect my assets. Wolfe turned to me. Archie, escort Mr. Cole and these gentlemen to the front room. They may remain there while I examine the documents. Cole objected. Reed read the order again. After 2 minutes of legal growling, they agreed that Wolfe could have 30 minutes in the office provided no records were removed or destroyed. I took them to the front room. Cole stopped beside me in the hall. You should consider your position. I often do. It is usually standing. The agreement makes you an employee of my company. No agreement makes me anything before lunch. You signed it. I didn't. Then someone signed your name with remarkable accuracy. He lowered his voice. Mr. Wolfe is finished. You are young enough to be practical. I looked at his silver tie. You are old enough to know when not to recruit a witness. His eyes hardened. Before sunset, I will occupy that office. Bring a wider chair. I returned to Wolfe. He had arranged the documents into 3 piles. One held the transfer agreement. One held the enforcement papers. One held copies of old correspondence produced as evidence of the supposed debt. He pointed to the 3rd pile. Read. The letters were between Cole Strategic Holdings and a company called Harcourt Investigative Services. Harcourt had borrowed $250,000 from Cole. A guarantee letter carrying Wolfe's name promised repayment if Harcourt defaulted. The guarantee had my initials in the lower corner. I had never seen it. Wolfe said, Who owns Harcourt Investigative Services? I'll find out. Not yet. He picked up the transfer agreement. Read paragraph 17. I did. It stated that the agreement had been reviewed and witnessed by the agency's authorized business secretary, Archie Goodwin, who certified that Wolfe signed voluntarily and understood its consequences. I am not the business secretary. You perform the function, without the title. You have used it when? Bank forms, insurance renewals, license applications. That was true. Wolfe's eyes narrowed. 6 months ago, did you sign a packet of renewal documents from our insurance broker? Yes. Did you read each page? I remembered a thick envelope on my desk, a yellow tab on each signature line, and a dinner engagement, waiting at the end of the afternoon. Most of them, Archie. I signed where the tabs were. How many pages? Perhaps. Did you count them? No. Did you retain a copy? No. Wolfe leaned back. I felt the room become less comfortable. You think this was hidden in that packet? I think your signature may have been obtained on a certificate broad enough to authorize later papers. But not this agreement. No. Yet your genuine signature as witness could have been transferred, traced, or attached to a substituted page. And yours? He looked at the signature again. My name is harder to steal. That vanity. It is also true. He examined the seal impression through a magnifying glass. The seal is genuine. Then someone opened the drawer, or borrowed it before it entered the drawer. I thought of the last time we had used it. A bank officer had sent papers by courier. I had sealed 3 copies in the office, returned the seal to its box, and taken the packet downstairs myself, or I thought I had. Wolfe said, Who prepared the insurance renewal packet? Martin Bell at Bell & Crow. Who delivered it? A clerk. I don't remember. Who collected it? The same clerk. I think you think. Yes. Phooey. He turned to the court papers. The scheme depends upon genuine elements. A genuine seal, your genuine signature. A passable imitation of mine. A court petition built upon notice, falsely received. Someone did not merely forge a contract. He assembled one from pieces we supplied. Cole, perhaps. He benefits. Obvious benefit is not proof of authorship. Do you know him? No. Does the name Harcourt mean anything? No. Then, why target the agency? Wolfe's eyes went toward the shelves, the safe and the filing cabinets. Not the agency. The office? The files, more likely. I looked at the locked cabinets. We held information on bankers, politicians, manufacturers, criminals, police officers, and enough unhappy families to fill a cemetery. Cole had asked for control of the business, but the court order gave him immediate possession of every active and closed case file. He wants something in the records, I said, or wishes to prevent us from using it. Wolfe rang for Fritz. Fritz entered. Lunch will be delayed, Wolfe said. Fritz stared at him. That was the most alarming sentence spoken all morning, Wolfe continued. Prepare sandwiches and coffee for Mr. Goodwin. I will eat at the usual hour. Order had not entirely collapsed. Fritz nodded and left. Wolfe pointed at the telephone. Call Mr. Bell. Learn who prepared and delivered the renewal packet. Then call Long Cohen and obtain everything available on Adrian Cole, Cole Strategic Holdings, Harcourt Investigative Services, and the judge who signed this order. Anything else? Yes. Locate the court stenographer and obtain the hearing transcript. I have 30 minutes before Cole returns. You have less. He picked up the transfer agreement once more. I remained beside the desk. You asked why my name appears on a contract I never saw. Yes, I still don't know. You signed something without reading it. That is not the same thing. No, it is merely the door through which this entered. I winced. Wolfe's voice softened by no measurable amount. Archie, you have endangered my chair. I understand my files. Yes, my orchids. Yes. His lips moved. This is intolerable. From the front room came Cole's voice, asking Officer Reed whether the locks could be changed before sunset. Wolfe heard it. His eyes sharpened. No one changes a lock in my house. What do? We retain possession. The court says we don't. The court has been deceived. We need proof. We will obtain it. Before sunset, Wolfe looked at the office clock. It was 11:04. Mr. Cole believes he has purchased an agency, he said. He has purchased 5 hours and 56 minutes in which to regret entering this house. I went to the telephone. On Wolfe's desk, the false contract lay beneath the genuine seal, and 2 signatures that should never have met on the same page. One belonged to Wolfe. One belonged to me. Before sunset, we had to prove that both had been used to sell something neither of us had agreed to surrender. Chapter 2. The new owner, Adrian Cole, returned to Wolfe's office at 11:30, carrying another folder and the confidence of a man who had mistaken paperwork for victory. Officer Thomas Reed came with him. The younger court officer remained in the front room, guarding the hall, as if Wolfe might attempt to smuggle his desk through the kitchen. Cole placed the folder beside the transfer agreement. You asked for proof of the debt. I asked you to leave, Wolfe said. I am choosing to be helpful. That is rarely a choice made by an invader. Cole opened the folder. Inside were copies of a loan agreement, bank records, notices of default, and 3 letters supposedly sent to Wolfe during the previous 6 months. The principal amount was $250,000. I read that figure twice. Wolfe did not blink. Cole tapped the first document. 6 months ago, Cole Strategic Holdings made a private loan to Harcourt Investigative Services. Wolfe guaranteed repayment by pledging the operating assets of his own agency. I did not, Wolfe said. The guarantee bears your signature. An object may bear a name without possessing truth. Cole turned to Officer Reed. You see the difficulty. Reed said nothing. Cole continued. Harcourt notices were sent. No repayment was made. Under the guarantee, the agency became transferable to satisfy the debt. Why would I guarantee another detective firm? Wolfe asked. Cole spread his hands. That question should have been asked before signing. It is being asked now. Harcourt was supposedly purchasing surveillance equipment and expanding its offices. Perhaps you expected a share. I do not invest in surveillance equipment. You invested in Harcourt. No, the documents disagree. Wolfe looked at me. Archie, the bank records. I took them. A wire transfer of $250,000 had been made from Cole Strategic Holdings to Harcourt Investigative Services on January 14th. 3 weeks later, $20,000 had been transferred from Harcourt to an account titled Wolfe Agency Consulting. That account was not ours, I said so. Cole smiled. The name is close. A thief often stays close to the coat he is stealing. The address on the account was a post office box in Lower Manhattan. The authorized signer was listed as A. Goodwin. That improved the morning. I held up the page. Not me. Cole said, "Again, you have an unfortunate number of imitations." Wolfe extended a hand. I brought him the document. He studied it. "This account received money." $20,000, Cole said. "Enough to demonstrate that, mister." Wolfe benefited from the Harcourt loan, or enough to manufacture that appearance. The money was withdrawn in cash. By whom? A representative of the agency. Name? Goodwin. I said, "You keep mentioning him. I should meet him." Cole closed the folder. "The debt is established. The guarantee is valid. The default occurred. The business transferred automatically." Wolfe looked at Officer Reed. "Did the court examine the original guarantee?" "Yes." "Did it examine the account opening papers?" "I do not know." "Did it call any witness who had seen me sign?" The petition included a sworn statement from the legal clerk. "Name?" Cole answered. "Edwin Mercer." I remembered the name, not the man. At first, the name belonged to a signature on several delivery slips that had crossed my desk during the winter. Bell and Crow, our insurance brokers, had used a legal courier service while renewing Wolfe's liability coverage. I went to my desk and searched the appointment book. January 12th, Bell and Crow documents 3:30. January 15th, clerk collects insurance papers. The Harcourt loan had been funded on January 14th. I looked at Wolfe. The delivery receipt. He waited. I continued. The clerk who brought the insurance packet asked me to sign a receipt. There were several pages on a clipboard. "Did you read them?" I read the top one. "The others?" "No." Cole leaned back. Officer Reed looked at me with mild professional disappointment. I said, "Don't strain yourself. Wolfe is doing enough for both of you." Wolfe's voice was quiet. "What did the top page state?" "That I had received a packet from Bell and Crow, and the pages beneath it. I assumed they were duplicate receipts." "Assumption," Wolfe said, "is laziness wearing respectable clothes." "I know." "Do you?" Cole said. "The clerk's affidavit states that Mr. Goodwin signed a certificate acknowledging delivery of the loan guarantee and confirming Mr. Wolfe's authorization." "I did not acknowledge that. You signed the certificate." "I signed a receipt, without reading the attached pages." I disliked his satisfaction more than the fact. Wolfe turned to me. "Describe the clipboard." "Brown board, metal clasp. About 6 sheets. The first was a delivery receipt. There were yellow tabs on 2 signature lines. Did you sign both?" "Yes." "Same page?" "I thought so." "You thought?" "Yes." "Was the clerk present?" "Yes." "Did he remove any pages before leaving?" "I don't remember." "Did you retain a copy?" "No." Wolfe looked toward the ceiling as if asking it to explain why it had placed me in his office. Cole said, "Mr. Goodwin's carelessness does not invalidate his signature." "No," Wolfe replied. "It merely identifies the first step of the fraud." Cole's smile vanished. Wolfe tapped the guarantee. "Mr. Goodwin may have signed a certificate whose text was hidden or substituted. That provides a genuine witness signature. It does not provide mine. The clerk witnessed your signature." "I was not present." "He says you signed in this office." "On what date?" "January 12th. I checked the appointment book. Wolfe had been in the plant rooms from 9 until 11, lunched at 1, and left the house at 4 to visit a grower in New Jersey. At 3:30, when the insurance packet arrived, he had been upstairs. I said, "Wolfe never came down." Cole said, "The clerk states otherwise." "Theodore can confirm it." "A servant's memory 6 months later?" "Theodore is not a servant, and his memory concerning Wolfe's orchid schedule is religious." Wolfe frowned at me, though the description was fair. He looked again at the signature. "Archie, my cancelled checks for January." I opened the safe, removed the file, and brought it to him. Wolfe compared the signatures. The one on the guarantee was excellent. The broad beginning of the N, the narrow loop in Wolfe, the pressure at the final stroke, all had been reproduced with care. But Wolfe kept looking. At last he said, "This was not copied from a check." "How do you know?" Cole asked. Wolfe ignored him. I leaned over the desk. "What was it copied from?" A document signed with a fountain pen while I was seated, not standing. The downward pressure and slant indicate the position. You can tell that? I can tell my own habits. He selected a second paper from Cole's folder. It was one of the default notices. The signature acknowledging receipt was also supposed to be Wolfe's. This one was poor. Wolfe pushed it toward Officer Reed. Compare them, Reed did. The signatures differ, indeed. The guarantee signature is skilled. The receipt signature is crude. Why would a man capable of signing accurately 1 month become inept the next? Cole said. Age, haste, annoyance. Mr. Cole, do not attempt wit in my office. Cole's jaw moved. Wolfe continued. The forger possessed one suitable model of my signature and used it to construct the guarantee. For later notices, he lacked access to the model and improvised. You are assuming forgery. I am identifying it. Cole stood. The court has already accepted these documents. The court accepted a sequence designed to appear complete. A loan, a guarantee, a payment to an account resembling ours. Notices acknowledged by false signatures, a default, a transfer. The sequence is tidy because it was manufactured to be tidy. Officer Reed said, Mr. Wolfe, even if fraud occurred, the order remains effective until changed. I know Mr. Cole has legal possession. He has legal permission to make a nuisance of himself until a judge is shown the truth. Cole checked his watch. You now have less than 6 hours. Wolfe looked at the office clock. 5 hours and 22 minutes. Then you understand. I understand clocks better than you understand this house. Cole faced Reed. I want the file cabinets inventoried. No, Wolfe said. The order gives me control. The order gives you possession of agency assets. It does not permit you to read confidential files before the court determines whether privilege transfers. My attorneys disagree. Your attorneys are not here. Cole moved toward the nearest cabinet. I stepped between him and it. Officer Reed sighed. Gentlemen, Wolfe said, Mr. Reed, you will prevent Mr. Cole from opening those cabinets until privilege is clarified, or I will telephone the judge and inform him that his order is being used to expose confidential client records. Reed considered the risk. The cabinets remain closed for now. Cole looked at him. That is not what the order says. It does not address privileged material clearly. Cole returned to the yellow chair. Wolfe looked at me. Call Mr. Bell. I had already tried twice. The third attempt found him. Martin Bell sounded nervous before I told him why he should be. I asked about the insurance renewal packet from January. It was routine, he said. Who prepared it? My office manager, Helen Crow. Who delivered it? We used Mercer Legal Courier. Edwin Mercer? Yes. Did your packet include any loan guarantee? Certainly not. Any certificate authorizing me to witness? Wolfe's signature? No. Any pages beneath the delivery receipt? 2 insurance declarations and a broker authorization. Did you receive all documents back? A pause. I believe so. Belief is popular today. Check. I heard papers moving. Bell returned after a minute. We received the declarations and authorization. The signed delivery receipt would have remained with the courier. So Mercer left with my signature. Yes, what about Wolfe's? He signed the broker authorization. That got my attention. When? January 10th. We mailed it separately. What did it look like? 1-page form. Your agency seal was required. I looked at Wolfe. The broker authorization had your signature and the seal. Where is the original? Wolfe asked. I repeated the question. Bell hesitated. It was returned to us. Do you still have it? I'll check. Now. He went away longer this time. When he returned, his voice had changed. The file contains a copy. The original is missing. Who handled it? Helen, myself, and the courier who collected records for annual storage. Which courier? Mercer Legal. There it was. I thanked him without warmth and hung up. Cole had heard enough to understand. Wolfe said, the original broker authorization supplied my genuine signature and our seal impression. I nodded. Mercer took it from Bell's files, copied or transferred your signature, and used the seal as a model. Not merely as a model, Wolfe said. The impression on the transfer agreement is genuine, so he had the seal itself, or access to it during the January packet. I remembered the insurance documents on my desk. The clerk had stood beside me while I signed. I had opened Wolfe's drawer to stamp 1 page because the packet included a duplicate, requiring the agency seal. The clerk had watched. Afterward, I had left the papers on my desk while answering a telephone call in the hall. For perhaps 2 minutes, I said. He could have taken the seal then and returned it later, Wolfe said. When, before you placed it in the drawer, I frowned. I thought I stamped the pages and put it away. You thought many things that afternoon, Cole said. This fantasy does not alter the loan. Wolfe looked at him. No, the loan was real. That surprised everyone, including Cole. Wolfe continued. Your company transferred money to Harcourt. The question is whether Harcourt was an independent borrower or an instrument created to receive your money and fabricate my obligation. Cole's eyes cooled. Harcourt operated for 3 years. Doing what? Private investigation? For whom? Clients. Name one. Confidential. Convenient again. I had Lon Cohen on the telephone 10 minutes later. Lon knew more about businesses than most owners and more about crimes than most businesses. He checked Harcourt Investigative Services while I waited. Harcourt has an office on West 42nd, he said. 1 room, no listed staff, no advertising, no visible clients. State filing names Peter Harcourt as president. Real person? Died 8 months before the company was incorporated. That is inconvenient for management. The current signatory is Edwin Mercer. I looked at Wolfe. Martin Hale, using the name Edwin Mercer, controls Harcourt. Cole's face remained still. Lon continued. Harcourt's bank account received Cole's loan, paid $20,000 to the false Wolfe account, then sent $180,000 to a consulting company in Delaware. Owner? Still checking. Call back. I hung up. Wolfe said, Mr. How did you meet Edwin Mercer? Cole's answer came too smoothly. Through Harcourt. Who introduced you? Peter Harcourt. A dead man? Cole's face changed. Only slightly, but enough, I said. Peter Harcourt died before the company existed. Officer Reed looked at Cole. Cole recovered. I may have the name wrong. You lent $250,000 to a company whose owner you cannot name, Wolfe asked. My financial officers handled the transaction, then produced them. They are not available. Before sunset they will be. Cole stood again. I have no obligation to submit to questioning. No, but you have an urgent desire to enter my files. That desire placed you in this room, and it will keep you here. Cole looked at the filing cabinets. Wolfe saw it. So did I. The agency was supposedly collateral for a loan, but Cole cared less about the desks and chairs than about what the cabinets held. Wolfe said, Which file do you want? Cole turned toward him. I want what I legally own. An evasive answer. I want the business. You know nothing of investigation. I employ people who do. You could buy a dozen agencies for less trouble. Yet you created a false debt, used a dead man's company, stole signatures, manipulated court service, and arrived personally to take possession. Cole said nothing. Wolfe's fingers met over his middle. The agency is not your objective. Something in this office is. Officer Reed shifted his weight. Cole's voice was careful. You are trying to distract from the agreement. No, I am trying to discover why a businessman would spend $250,000 to obtain a chair that cannot hold him. That was the first moment Adrian Cole looked at Wolfe with something other than confidence. It lasted only a second. Then the telephone rang, I answered. Lon Cohen said, The Delaware company that received the Harcourt money is Alder Research Group. Its managing director is Adrian Cole's private secretary. I wrote it down and handed the note to Wolfe. He read it. The loan returned to you, he said. Cole's face went blank. $180,000. Traveled from Harcourt to a company controlled by your secretary. $20,000 went to the false agency account. The rest paid fees and disappeared. You did not make a loan. You moved your own money in a circle and called it debt. Cole glanced toward Officer Reed. Reed was no longer looking friendly. Cole said, Business funds pass through related companies every day. Not usually while creating security interests in property the borrower never owned. You cannot prove I knew. Perhaps not yet. Wolfe looked at the office clock. 12:26. We have 4 hours and 34 minutes before sunset. Cole's mouth tightened. Wolfe continued. Archie's careless signature opened the door. Mr. Hale, operating as Edwin Mercer, supplied the hinges. You supplied the house built behind it. You have no evidence connecting me to forged consent. Then you will not object when Mr. Goodwin locates Edwin Mercer. Cole said nothing. That silence was useful. Officer Reed closed his notebook. Mr. Cole, until this is clarified, I am suspending the inventory. You have no authority to suspend the order. I have authority to prevent a breach of peace and report suspected fraud to the court. Cole picked up his folder. Wolfe placed one hand on it. No, Cole stared. These papers remain. They are mine. They were brought as proof of your claim. Mr. Reed may hold them. Reed took the folder. Cole's face hardened. This changes nothing. At sunset I take possession unless a judge says otherwise. Wolfe removed his hand. Then you had better hope Mr. Hale remains available. Cole walked out without another word. Officer Reed followed him to the front room. I returned to my desk. Wolfe looked at me. I signed without reading. Yes, you intend to mention it again. Until it becomes educational. It already has. Good. Education is expensive. I looked at the false transfer agreement. Hale had my genuine signature, your genuine signature, and access to the seal. Cole manufactured the loan, but we still need to prove they worked together. Yes. And we need to know which file Cole wants. Yes. How? Wolfe picked up the appointment book. Begin with Harcourt's supposed investigations. A false agency may still have performed one real service. For Cole or against him? He leaned back. Find Edwin Mercer. Find the false account opened in your name. Find every file in this office containing Adrian Cole, Older Research, or Harcourt. That may take time. We have until sunset. I reached for the telephone. The agency had not been sold by a single forged contract. It had been surrounded by genuine pieces stolen from careless moments. My signature had opened the door. Wolfe's signature had been carried through it. Now we had to find the man waiting on the other side before Adrian Cole returned to claim the office. Chapter 3. The contract beneath the receipt. Martin Hale lived in a furnished room above a tailor shop on West 47th Street, which was not where a man named Edwin Mercer was supposed to live. That interested me. By 2:15 I had learned that Mercer Legal Courier had no legal existence, no office and no Edwin Mercer. The telephone number on its invoices belonged to Public Answering Service. The signature used on the delivery slips belonged to a licensed process clerk named Martin Hale, who had worked for 3 law firms, been dismissed by 2, and operated under the false courier name Edwin Mercer. His landlady took $5, inspected me for weapons, and pointed upstairs. Hale opened his door with a suitcase in one hand. "You are late," I said. He tried to close the door. I put my foot in it. "I don't know you." Archie Goodwin. The name did not improve him. He was thin, 35, and dressed in a brown suit that had spent the night on a chair. His eyes moved past me toward the stairs. "I have nothing to say. You delivered papers to Nero Wolfe's office on January 12th. No. You signed the courier sheet as Edwin Mercer. No. You also control Harcourt Investigative Services. That stopped the suitcase. I never heard of it. You were doing better with no. He released the door and backed into the room. I entered. The room contained a bed, a washstand, 2 chairs, and enough cigarette smoke to preserve meat. Several shirts lay folded beside the suitcase. On the table stood a train timetable and an envelope containing cash. "You are traveling," I said. "Business. Where?" "Philadelphia. The afternoon trains go there without requiring 3 shirts and $600. He looked at the cash. I sat in the better chair. "Hale, Adrian Cole is trying to take possession of Wolfe's agency with papers you delivered. The court thinks the papers were properly witnessed. Wolfe thinks otherwise. When those 2 opinions meet, yours will be damaged. I only carried envelopes. You also signed affidavits. I signed what Grant's office gave me." "Simon Grant," his face answered before his mouth. "Yes. Attorney Simon Grant prepared the packet." "I didn't say that. You came close." He paced once to the window and back. "I worked occasional jobs for Grant. Filing, delivery, service. He paid cash." "Why use the name Edwin Mercer?" "That was on the courier forms." "Who gave you the forms?" "Grant's secretary." "Name? Lydia Shaw." "Did she know you were using a false name?" Supposing has already sold Wolfe's chair. Try knowing." Hale rubbed his mouth. "She told me the client wanted privacy." "What client?" "I never met him." "Adrian Cole?" "No." You signed a sworn statement saying you saw Wolfe sign a loan guarantee. His eyes dropped. That statement was prepared for me. Did you see Wolfe sign? No. Did you see him at all? No. Then why swear you did? Hale's voice rose. They told me it was only to confirm delivery. They said Wolfe had already signed, and the affidavit was routine. Who told you? Grant. Personally? Yes. Did he show you the guarantee? No. Did he tell you the agency was collateral? No. I took out my notebook. Describe the packet you delivered. Brown envelope. About 20 pages. That was what I was told. Did you hand me a clipboard? Yes. How many pages were attached? 6 or 7. I saw only a delivery receipt. The receipt was on top. What was beneath it? I don't know. You assembled the clipboard? No. It came ready. From Grant? From his office. How were the pages fastened? He hesitated. That was the part he had been saving. A removable binding strip. What kind? Thin plastic spine along the left edge. You could pull it off, change the pages, and put it back. So I signed the top receipt while other pages were beneath it. Yes. Could my signature appear on a lower page? No. Not directly. Then why attach them? Hale sat on the bed. There were carbon transfer sheets. I stared at him. Under the receipt, one beneath each signature line. You knew that? I noticed after you signed, and did nothing. I was told it was for duplicate records. How many signatures transferred? 2, I remembered the yellow tabs. 1 near the bottom of the receipt. 1 farther down where I had assumed a duplicate confirmation waited. Hale continued. After you signed, I took the packet back to Grant's office. The strip was removed. The top receipt went into one file. The lower pages went somewhere else. Did you read them? No. Did you see Wolfe's name? Only later. When? When Grant asked me to sign the affidavit 6 weeks ago, and you still signed. He said Cole already owned the debt and the court only needed proof of service. Cole again. I didn't meet him. Who paid you? Grant's office. How much? $2,000. For delivery. For the affidavit and confidentiality. That is a long word for lying. Hale looked toward the suitcase. I didn't know they were taking the agency. You knew enough to leave town. He said nothing. I stood. Give me the original receipt. I don't have it. Who does? Grant's office returned it to Cole's lawyers. Did you make a copy? No. Did Grant? He copies everything. That gave me my next address. Before leaving, I took the train timetable and the cash envelope. Hale protested. Receipt, I said. For what? For property temporarily held during a private investigation. I'll call the police. Ask for Inspector Kramer. He enjoys stories about false affidavits. Hale sat down again. I left him with the suitcase. Simon Grant's office occupied the 10th floor of a stone building on Madison Avenue. The reception room contained leather chairs, quiet rugs, and a secretary who looked as if she had been trained to refuse subpoenas before lunch. I gave her my card. Mr. Grant is unavailable. Tell him Martin Hale is packing for Philadelphia. Her expression shifted. 2 minutes later, I was admitted. Simon Grant was 60, silver-haired, and built with the polished calm of a man who charged by the hour, even when silent. His office overlooked the avenue. The desk was broad, the books were genuine, and a framed law degree hung where clients could see it before surrendering hope. He did not offer a hand. You spoke to Mr. Hale. He spoke to me. He is unreliable. He says you prepared the packet attached to my receipt. He is lying. He says you paid him to swear he saw Wolfe sign. Grant's face remained controlled. I paid him for legitimate courier work. $2,000. I do not discuss accounts. Then discuss Adrian Cole. I represent several coal companies. That is almost an answer. Grant sat. The transfer was prepared by outside counsel. I do not know. You filed it. My office filed documents supplied by the client. You also supplied Hale as a process clerk. And the removable binding strip. Grant's eyes sharpened. I know nothing about it. You know enough to dislike the phrase. He folded his hands. Mr. Goodwin, your employer signed a guarantee. You witnessed it. The debt was not paid. The transfer followed. I signed a receipt. That is your claim. Wolfe never signed the guarantee. That is his claim. Your office seal appears on the filing certificate. Grant's expression changed then, not much, but honestly. My office seal was stolen when, 3 weeks before the petition was filed. Reported to building security. The police? No. Why not? I expected it to be found. What else? Disappeared. Who knew? My partners, my secretary, and Mr. Cole's general counsel. Did Hale know? No. Show me the security report. Grant pressed a button. The secretary entered. He asked for the building incident file. She returned with a thin folder. The report stated that the brass seal of Grant, Wells, and Carter had disappeared from a locked cabinet on May 17th. The cabinet showed no forced entry. 4 employees had keys. I read the names. Lydia Shaw was one of them. Your secretary had access. So did 3 others. Was she working on Cole's matter? Yes. Where is she? Home ill. Address? No. I smiled. Grant did not. He opened a drawer and removed a photocopy of the filing certificate. The impression on this certificate is ours, he said, but it was not applied by me. Did you sign the certificate? No. The signature beneath the seal resembled his, but was inferior. You knew the filing used a stolen seal. I saw the filed copy only after the court order was granted, and did nothing. I confronted Cole. What did he say? That outside counsel had obtained authorization. Did you believe him? No. Did you tell the court? Grant's jaw tightened. I was preparing to withdraw. After Wolfe lost the office, I needed facts. That disease is spreading. I asked for every copy his office had retained from the January delivery packet. He refused. I telephoned Wolfe from Grant's desk. Grant objected. I told him he could remove me or listen, Wolfe answered. I summarized Hale's confession, the removable binding strip, the carbon sheets, Grant's denial, and the stolen office seal. Wolfe said, ask Mr. Grant whether he possesses the original delivery receipt. I did. Grant said no. A copy? He hesitated. Yes, obtain it, Wolfe said. Grant refused again. Wolfe's voice came through the receiver, calm and heavy. Mr. Grant, if you withhold a document connected to fraud upon a court, Mr. Goodwin will telephone the district attorney from your office. Your client will learn of it before sunset. Decide whether loyalty to Mr. Cole is worth your license. Grant heard every word. He opened another drawer and removed a file. Inside was a photocopy of my delivery receipt. I took it. The page looked ordinary at first. My signature appeared at the bottom. A second signature sat beside the notation, received and acknowledged. Both were genuine. Beneath the dark strokes of my name, however, faint lines pressed into the paper. They were not writing on the receipt. They were impressions made by a document beneath it. I carried the sheet to the window. The pressure marks formed fragments, Nero Wolfe, guarantor, and below them the beginning of a signature line. Grant joined me. I never noticed that. You didn't want to. He said nothing. The pressure marks proved the packet had contained a second document while I signed the top sheet. But there was something else. Above the guarantor line, a faint sweeping indentation crossed the paper. It had the broad initial stroke of Wolfe's signature. I looked closer. The signature had not come from Wolfe writing on the lower page. It had been traced from another document placed beneath the receipt, a model signature. The pressure was too even and too slow. Wolfe signed with a quick first stroke and a firm finish. This had been copied carefully through the layers, I said. Someone put an original Wolfe signature under the receipt, laid the false guarantee above it, and traced the name. Grant stared. That would require access to the broker authorization, which vanished from Bell & Crow's file after your courier collected records. I did not order that collection. Who did? Lydia Shaw handled annual storage pickups. The pieces were arranging themselves. Lydia had access to Grant's seal. She had access to the courier forms. She had dealt with Hale. She had handled the Cole matter. She may also have collected the broker authorization bearing Wolfe's genuine signature and the agency seal. Where is Lydia Shaw? I asked again. Grant gave me the address. This time he did not argue. I left with the receipt copy, the security report, and a written statement from Grant denying preparation of the transfer. He signed it reluctantly, but he signed it while I watched. At the brownstone, Wolfe was in the office with the court papers aligned before him. Cole and Officer Reed were still in the front room. Fritz had served them coffee but no food, which was his version of legal neutrality. I placed the copied receipt under Wolfe's lamp. He examined the pressure marks with a magnifying glass. "Your signatures are genuine," he said. "Yes." The text beneath them was hidden. "Yes." "And mine?" "Copied from the missing broker authorization. Look at the pressure line." He studied it. "The stroke is hesitant." "Exactly." Wolfe looked up. "Mr. Hale admits the removable strip and carbon sheets. Denies knowing the lower pages concerned the agency. Do you believe him?" He knew he was helping someone. He may not have known how much. "Mr. Grant claims Cole supplied the documents. His office seal was stolen before filing. His secretary, Lydia Shaw, had access to everything." "Where is she?" "Home ill, according to Grant." "According to her home. I haven't reached it yet." Wolfe leaned back. "The construction is now visible. Your genuine signatures were acquired beneath a harmless receipt. My signature was traced from a stolen authorization. Our seal was borrowed or reproduced from the same source, Mr. Grant's seal was stolen to validate the filing, and Cole supplied the false debt." "Yes, but we still need to connect him to Hale, Lydia, and the transfer." "We shall." I looked at the clock. 3:48. Sunset was getting nearer. From the hall came Adrian Cole's voice, asking whether Wolfe had begun packing. Wolfe heard him. His lips tightened. "Archie?" "Yes?" "Locate Miss Shaw, and if she has left, then discover where we—" I picked up my hat. Wolfe placed one finger on the pressure marks beneath my signature. "You signed one page," he said. "The conspirators placed a contract beneath it, a signature beneath that, and a debt beneath everything. A deep stack, too deep. Fraud becomes vulnerable when it requires many layers. Because one slips, because one remembers." I headed for the door. Behind me, the faint impression of Wolfe's stolen signature remained visible under the lamp. The contract had never been placed before him. It had been placed beneath me. Chapter 4. The client, who paid twice at 4:12 that afternoon. Wolfe found $250,000 hiding inside a payment of $12,500. He did it without leaving his chair. I had returned from Lydia Shaw's apartment with no Lydia Shaw. The superintendent said she had departed early that morning, carrying one suitcase and wearing the face of a woman who did not expect to return for her mail. I had found no forwarding address, but I had obtained the name of the cab company that collected her. Wolfe listened to that report, dismissed Lydia's flight with a grunt, and returned to the bank record spread across his desk. Adrian Cole remained in the front room with Officer Reed. Sunset was approaching with the steady confidence of a creditor. Fritz brought me coffee and 2 ham sandwiches. Wolfe had already eaten lunch, and therefore regarded my hunger as an administrative detail. He tapped one of the loan statements. "Archie, this routing number." I swallowed. "What about it?" "It appears twice." I leaned over his desk. The supposed Harcourt loan had been sent from Cole Strategic Holdings through an account at Metropolitan Union Bank. 6 months earlier, a smaller payment to our agency had passed through the same routing number. "That could be the bank's main clearing account," I said. "No. The customer reference field is also identical," he pointed. The reference consisted of 8 numbers and the initials EP. "Eleanor Price," I said. Wolfe nodded. Eleanor Price had been a client the previous autumn. Her husband's business partner had tried to blackmail her with forged letters. Wolfe had settled the matter in 4 days and charged her $12,500, which she had paid without flinching. I went to the files. The Price case was in Cabinet C, 3rd drawer. Cole could claim the cabinet after sunset if the order held, but until then it remained ours and therefore suffered my fingers. I found the payment receipt. Eleanor Price had paid through Meridian Financial Trust. I brought it to Wolfe. He compared the receipt with Cole's loan papers. Meridian Financial Trust used the same routing account that later appeared in the supposed Harcourt transaction. I said, "Cole controls Meridian. Discover it." Lon Cohen answered on the first ring. "Meridian Financial Trust," I said. "Who owns it?" "I'll check." He returned in less than a minute. "Privately held. Majority interest belongs to Alder Research Group." "That belongs to Cole's secretary, correct?" "So Cole controls Meridian indirectly." "Correct." "Anything else?" "Meridian has been under quiet. Review for duplicate payment complaints. Nothing public yet." "What kind?" Clients report legitimate transfers appearing twice in internal records, once as payments and once as temporary advances. That was enough. I hung up and told Wolfe. His eyes closed. When did Mrs. Price pay us? October 23rd. When was the supposed guarantee created? January 12th. When did Cole fund Harcourt? January 14th. Then Mrs. Price's transaction preceded the fraud by nearly 3 months. I sat. So they copied it. More than copied it. They used it. How? The bank record of Mrs. Price's payment was genuine. Her money passed through Meridian, entered an account associated with our agency, and was recorded properly. Later, someone reproduced the transaction with altered dates and an enlarged amount, identifying the agency as borrower rather than recipient. Wouldn't the bank notice? Not if the internal reference remained genuine and the apparent lender controlled the financial firm. I looked at the account numbers again. The supposed loan to Wolfe had not gone directly to us. It went from Cole Strategic Holdings to Harcourt. Then part of it reached a false Wolfe agency consulting account. But the guarantee schedule included an earlier entry showing that the agency had received a temporary advance from Meridian. That entry used Eleanor Price's real payment number. The amount, however, had been changed from $12,500 to $125,000. 10 had brought a great deal of trouble, I said. They turned a fee into a loan. Yes. And then used the Harcourt transfer to make the debt larger. Yes. The genuine payment made the bank trail look familiar. Precisely. Wolfe opened his eyes. A completely fabricated debt invites scrutiny. A genuine transaction altered in meaning survives because the bank recognizes its own routing data, reference number, and receiving account. Except the money was earned correct. Eleanor Price can prove it. Call her, Mrs. Price lived on Park Avenue and answered her private telephone herself. Her voice was cool, composed, and expensive.
Mr.
Goodwin? I need to ask about the fee you paid us last October. I paid it, we noticed. Is Mr. Wolfe dissatisfied with the amount? He was satisfied enough to eat lunch that week. What is the difficulty? Did Meridian Financial Trust lend Wolfe money? No. Did you authorize Meridian to treat your payment as a temporary advance? Certainly not. Did you sign anything describing the $12,500 as a loan? No. Did anyone contact you later about correcting or duplicating the payment? A pause. Yes. Wolfe raised a finger. I switched on the speaker, Mrs. Price continued. A man from Meridian telephoned in December. He said an accounting error had caused my payment to be posted twice. He asked me to sign a confirmation stating that only one payment was intended. Did you sign? Yes. Did you read the document? I did. That distinguished her from me. What exactly did it say? That $12,500 had been paid to the Wolfe agency as a professional fee, and that any duplicate entry should be cancelled. Do you have a copy? I believe so. Who sent it? A woman named Lydia Shaw. Wolfe's lips moved. I said, did you meet her? She came to my apartment. Describe her. Mrs. Price did. Early 40s, auburn hair, grey coat, narrow gold bracelet, calm voice. It matched the photograph Grant's office had supplied. Did Miss Shaw take anything besides the signed confirmation? She asked for my original Meridian receipt so the duplicate could be corrected. You gave it to her? Yes. She returned a photocopy. Wolfe said, Madam, was the photocopy complete? Mrs. Price heard him and answered without surprise. I assumed it was. Please inspect it. She left the telephone. I said. Lydia collected the original genuine receipt. Wolfe nodded. With the routing data, reference number, account identification, and proof that the payment reached us. Mrs. Price returned. The copy is missing the lower portion. What was there? I asked. My signature and the payment classification. Which classification? Professional services, Wolfe said. Miss Price, we require the copy immediately. I will send it by messenger. No, Mr. Goodwin will collect it. I looked at the clock. 4:33. The sun had less than 2 hours of employment left, I said. That is a long round trip. Wolfe ignored me. Mrs. Price said. There is something else. Meridian returned $12,500 to me 3 weeks after the correction. Why? They said the original transfer had been reversed because of an internal duplication. Did you? Inform us? No. I assumed Mr. Wolfe had been paid through another method. I looked at Wolfe. We had kept the money. Our bank statement showed the payment received and never reversed. Then Meridian paid her twice, I said. Wolfe's eyes sharpened. No, Mrs. Price paid twice in the records, not in fact. He addressed her. Madam, did the refund come from the same account? I do not know. Bring the statement with the receipt copy. I will. She hung up. I said, explain. The refund created the appearance that her original payment had been cancelled. Meridian's internal record could then classify the surviving entry differently. As a loan to us. Yes, but we still had the fee. Our account showed a legitimate deposit. Mrs. Price's account showed a legitimate payment, followed by a refund from Meridian. Cole's manufactured file showed a separate advance using the same reference. Each participant saw a plausible transaction. Until all three are compared, which was not expected. I telephoned Fred Durkin and told him to collect the papers from Mrs. Price. He could reach Park Avenue and return faster than I could if traffic behaved with rare intelligence. While we waited, Wolfe examined the default notices. The supposed debt began at $125,000, exactly 10 times Mrs. Price's fee. Interest, penalties, and the Harcourt guarantee brought it to $250,000. I said, why choose her payment? Because it was processed through a firm Cole controlled, and because they could retrieve the receipt. Yes, Lydia handled that. Yes. Hale carried the false pages. Yes. Grant's seal validated the filing. Yes. And Cole provided the financial machinery. You still say, apparently. I do not convict men because the pattern is attractive. From the front room came a knock. Officer Reed entered. Mr. Cole wants to know whether you intend to comply voluntarily at sunset. Wolfe looked at the clock. Tell Mr. Cole that sunset is an astronomical event, not a legal argument. Reed suppressed something that might have been a smile. He also wants access to the financial files. No, he says they are not privileged client material. The Price file is privileged. Cole appeared behind Reed. I did not mention the Price file. The room became still. I had not spoken Eleanor Price's name loudly enough for the front room. Wolfe regarded him. No, he said. You did not. Cole realized the error and tried to step around it. I saw Goodwin remove a file from cabinet. See, there are 47 files in that drawer. Perhaps I guessed. Wolfe's lips pushed out. You have relied too heavily on guesses that are correct. Cole entered. What have you found? That your supposed loan contains a payment made by a former client. Nonsense, Mrs. Eleanor Price paid this agency $12,500 through Meridian Financial Trust, a company controlled by you through Alder Research. I do not manage Meridian's individual transfers. Her genuine reference number was later reused to represent a loan of $125,000. Cole's face remained calm. Banking errors happen, not with such purpose. You cannot prove purpose. Mrs. Price can prove she paid a fee, not a loan. That does not invalidate Harcourt's debt, no. It invalidates the foundation, used to suggest that I had already borrowed money through Meridian, and therefore might plausibly guarantee another loan. Cole looked toward the papers. Wolfe continued. You built the false debt from a genuine transaction. That was clever. The routing number, account history, and payment reference were authentic. Only the meaning was changed. Cole said, you are inventing a theory because you regret your agreement. I regret only Mr. Goodwin's handwriting. Thank you, I said. The doorbell rang. I went to answer it. Fred Durkin stood on the stoop, holding a sealed envelope. He had made excellent time and expected recognition. I gave him $10 and brought the envelope to Wolfe. Inside were Mrs. Price's photocopied receipt, her bank statement, the duplicate entry confirmation, and the refund notice. The photocopy showed the original payment reference. The refund came not from the receiving account, but from Alder Research Group, Cole's secretary's company. I placed it before Officer Reed. Meridian didn't refund the payment. Cole's related company did. Reed studied the statement. Cole said related companies settle accounts for one another. Why? I asked. Why would Alder refund a fee paid to Wolfe? Cole did not answer. Wolfe said, because the refund was not a correction. It was camouflage. Mrs. Price had to believe her original payment had been reversed, while our books continued to show it received. That separation allowed the same transaction to be recorded again as an advance. Reed looked at Cole. "Did you disclose Alder's payment to the court?" Cole's tone hardened. "I disclosed all relevant financial records. This appears relevant. It has nothing to do with the transfer." Wolfe shook his head. "It has everything to do with it. The guarantee relies upon a history of financial dealings between me and companies connected to Mr. Cole. That history did not exist. Mrs. Price's fee was altered to create it." Cole stood very still. Wolfe rang for Fritz. When Fritz entered, Wolfe said, "Bring Mrs. Price's file box." Fritz did not ask why it was not in the cabinet. He simply went. I looked at Wolfe. "You moved it this morning." "When?" "While you were admitting the invaders." That explained why Cole had been eager to open Cabinet C. He expected the original receipt or correspondence to be there. Fritz returned with a small archive box from the pantry safe. Inside were our invoice, deposit slip, correspondence with Meridian, and a carbon copy of the letter acknowledging Mrs. Price's fee. Cole looked at the box with undisguised displeasure. Wolfe saw it. "You wanted this file." "I wanted all agency property." "No. You needed the document proving that the transaction was earned income." Cole's voice was cold. "You cannot stop the order with speculation, perhaps not. But Officer Reed can report evidence of fraud to the issuing judge." Reed closed the folder. "I will telephone Chambers." Cole faced him. "You were instructed to enforce the order." "I was not instructed to ignore evidence." Reed went to the hall telephone. Cole remained in the office. His silver tie was still perfect, but the man behind it had begun to show wear. He said, "Even if the price entry is wrong, the guarantee remains." Wolfe nodded, correct. Cole blinked. "You admit it?" "I admit that one exposed fraud does not invalidate every document automatically. We still require the author of the forged consent." "Hale?" "A Grant?" "A frightened attorney." "Lydia Shaw, a useful employee." Cole said nothing. Wolfe leaned back. "You are the financier. But I have not yet determined whether you designed the entire scheme or merely purchased it." For the first time, Cole looked genuinely surprised. I was surprised too. "You think someone sold him the agency fraud?" I asked. "Possibly." Cole's eyes shifted toward the door. Wolfe continued. "The money trail is too elaborate for the simple theft of furniture. Someone knew Mrs. Price had paid through Meridian. Someone knew the agency's insurance packet would provide signatures and a seal. Someone knew which court procedures could be manipulated. Mr. Cole may have supplied funds and motive, but another mind assembled the machinery." "Lydia," I said. "Perhaps." Cole recovered. "You are wasting what remains of your time." The hall telephone rang once as Reed called the judge. Wolfe looked at the office clock. 5:11. Sunset was approaching. "Mr. Cole," Wolfe said, "you paid Mrs. Price twice because you needed her genuine payment to become my false loan. You paid Harcourt because you needed a real transfer to support a false guarantee. You paid Hale because you needed Mr. Goodwin's genuine signature beneath false text." Cole's face had gone pale around the mouth. "You have bought every part of this transaction except the truth." Reed returned from the hall. "The judge has suspended enforcement until 9 tomorrow morning. The parties are ordered to preserve all documents and appear at an emergency hearing." Cole turned on him. "You had no right." "I reported evidence," the judge decided. The office seemed to breathe. The younger officer was called in. Both court officers began gathering the enforcement papers. Cole's possession had not vanished, but its teeth had been removed for the night. Wolfe said, "Mr. Cole will leave." Cole looked at the clock. The sun had not yet set. He had lost the office before the deadline. At the door he turned. "This is temporary. So is confidence," Wolfe said. Cole left. When the front door closed, Fritz entered the office and looked toward Wolfe's chair, the files, and the desks. Everything remained in place. "Dinner at the usual time?" he asked. "Certainly." Order had returned to the brownstone. I sat at my desk and looked at the price documents. A genuine client payment became a false loan. Yes. Lydia obtained the receipt and your signature model. Yes. Cole controlled the financial companies. Yes, but you think someone else designed it. Wolfe folded his hands. Mr. Cole reacted when the price file was mentioned. He knew it mattered. but he did not understand why until I explained it. You noticed that? I notice when men fear a document they have not read. Then who built the debt? Someone who knew our internal records, Mrs. Price's payment route, Bell and Crow's insurance procedure, and Mr. Cole's appetite for acquisition. I frowned. That list is getting personal. It should. Fritz announced dinner. Wolfe rose. On his desk lay proof that every bank entry in the false loan had been constructed from real money, real accounts, and a real client. The lie had survived because none of its pieces was entirely false. Eleanor Price had paid us once. On paper, she had paid twice. The second payment had not purchased Wolfe's services. It had been used to purchase Wolfe. Chapter 5. The missing case file. Adrian Cole returned to the brownstone at 9:15 the next morning with 2 lawyers, 1 court officer, and a written demand for immediate access to every agency record. He had also brought a locksmith. That was optimistic. I opened the door, inspected the group, and said, "We are not starting a hotel." Cole held out the court order. The judge has continued the transfer suspension, but he has directed both parties to permit a supervised inventory. I am entitled to identify the property covered by the agreement. The locksmith identifies property. He opens anything Mr. Wolfe refuses to open. I looked at the locksmith. He was a small man with a leather case and the unhappy expression of someone who had discovered that his morning assignment involved Nero Wolfe. "Keep your tools closed," I told him. "They make the house nervous." Officer Thomas Reed stepped forward. He had returned because the judge apparently considered him less likely than anyone else to begin a riot. "Mr. Goodwin, the order permits Mr. Cole to inspect the file room under supervision. Nothing may be removed." That last sentence improves it. I took them to the office. Wolfe was behind his desk with a cup of coffee, a plate, holding the remains of 3 corn muffins and the emergency hearing transcript arranged before him. He had finished breakfast at the usual hour and spent 2 hours with the orchids. No forged contract, false debt, or advancing army of lawyers had altered his schedule. Cole entered first. His silver tie had been replaced by a dark blue one. It was less cheerful and more accurate. Looked at the locksmith. "Who is that?" Cole answered. "A precaution. Remove him. The order authorizes access. The cabinets are not locked against the court. They are locked against you," Officer Reed said. "Mr. Wolfe, the locksmith can wait in the hall." Wolfe inclined his head. The locksmith retreated with visible gratitude. Cole's senior lawyer placed the new order on Wolfe's desk. "Mr. Wolfe, refusal to permit inspection could be treated as contempt." Wolfe read the first page. "I will permit it." Cole looked surprised. So did I, though I had learned not to let surprise become public property. Wolfe pushed the document aside. "Archie, open the file room," I said. "All of it? All cabinets covered by the inventory." Cole's eyes moved toward me. The file room was behind the office library, separated by a narrow door disguised among the shelves. It contained the closed case files, financial records, duplicate reports, and enough private misery to make the city ashamed of itself. I unlocked it. Cole entered with Reed and 1 lawyer. The second lawyer remained in the office with Wolfe, perhaps to protect the desk from being eaten. I went in last. The room had no windows. Steel cabinets lined 3 walls, each drawer labeled by year and client surname. A long table occupied the center. On it I had placed an inventory ledger, cotton gloves, and 3 empty document trays. Cole ignored all of them. That was the first useful thing he did. A man taking possession of a detective agency might reasonably begin with active cases, retained clients' financial accounts, or pending fees. Cole passed the current files without a glance. He did not ask about the safe, the cash ledger, the client contracts, or the confidential reports that could have embarrassed bankers, heirs, judges, and 3 men who had appeared on magazine covers. He went directly to Cabinet C. I leaned against the table. "You have confidence in the alphabet." He opened the top drawer and examined the labels: Carter, Clayton, Coleman, Crowell. Then the second drawer: Parker, Parsons, Price. His hand stopped. Officer Reed saw it too. Cole removed a thin brown folder marked Price, Eleanor, confidential. He opened it quickly. Inside were the invoice for Wolfe's fee, 2 letters concerning the blackmail case, and a copy of the payment receipt. It was the ordinary duplicate file. Wolfe had allowed to remain in the cabinet after moving the original documents to the pantry safe. Cole turned the pages. His face did not change, but his speed did. He read the receipt, then the letters, then he examined the inside cover. "What are you looking for?" I asked. "The contents. You skipped 20 years of contents to reach these. File concerns the disputed transaction. The court order concerns all agency, property." His lawyer said, "Cole is entitled to examine records relevant to the alleged loan." Cole turned to the last page and found nothing. He closed the folder. "Is this complete?" "No file is complete to a man who wants another page. Is anything missing?" I smiled. "That depends on what you expected." He stared at me. Officer Reed said, "Mr. Cole, nothing may be removed." "I am aware." Cole placed the folder on the table and moved to the adjacent drawer. He examined folders under Price, Preston, and Pryor. Then he went backward to Parker. He was not inventorying, he was searching. I returned to the office. Wolfe had finished his coffee and was reading one of the court affidavits. "Cole wants a Price file," I said. "He has found one. He wants a different one." Wolfe turned a page. "Describe his search." I did. Straight to Cabinet C, straight to Price, quick inspection, question about completeness, then neighboring folders. Wolfe looked at the lawyer seated opposite him. "Your client is neglecting valuable assets," the lawyer said. "His method of inspection is not your concern. It is entirely my concern when he uses a forged contract to enter my file room." Cole appeared in the doorway carrying the thin folder. Reed followed him. Cole put the folder on Wolfe's desk. "This is incomplete." Wolfe glanced at it. "No. The original bank receipt is absent. It is secured as evidence. Where, beyond your reach?" Cole's mouth tightened. There was another Price file. It was not a question. Wolfe's eyes sharpened. "Was there?" "I have reason to believe your agency conducted a second investigation involving Eleanor Price and Meridian Financial Trust." I watched him. That was more than he should have known. Wolfe said, "State your reason." Cole hesitated. "My legal team reviewed your billing history. No billing entry identifies such an investigation. Then perhaps it was informal. Perhaps you will explain why you believe it existed." Cole picked up the folder. "This contains correspondence dated October. Meridian records show additional communications in November and December." "Communications by whom, Mrs. Price?" "To us, to an investigator." Wolfe leaned back. "What investigator?" Cole did not answer. Wolfe looked at me. "Archie, retrieve the private index." I went to the safe. The private index was a black ledger listing matters that had never become formal cases. Some involved consultations, favors, abandoned inquiries, or clients whose names Wolfe preferred not to place in the ordinary system. I brought it to him. Wolfe opened it to the P section. There were 2 entries for Eleanor Price. The first was the blackmail case. The second read, Meridian irregularities. P. Marsh. No retainer material held. Cole's face changed. Not much, but enough to remove any doubt. I read the entry over Wolfe's shoulder. "P. Marsh?" I said. The name had appeared before in another form. Hale had used Edwin Mercer as a false courier name. Harcourt Investigative Services was controlled under that same invented identity. Now a real Peter Marsh had entered the case. Cole said, "I want that file." Wolfe closed the ledger. "Why? It is agency property." That answer has worn thin, the lawyer said. "Mr. Wolfe, you cannot conceal assets during a court-ordered inventory. I can protect confidential material from a claimant whose title rests upon fraud." Officer Reed looked at Cole. "Do you know Peter Marsh?" Cole answered too quickly. "No." Wolfe's brows rose. "Then why did the name disturb you?" "It did not. Your face is not under oath, but it has testified." Cole looked toward the file room door. Wolfe said, "Archie, locate the folder." I knew the ordinary index, but not the private storage reference. The black ledger gave a code, B17. That meant the locked cabinet in the basement office, where Wolfe kept abandoned matters containing evidence too dangerous to destroy and too incomplete to use. Cole said, "I will accompany him." "No," Wolfe replied. "The order permits supervised inspection. Officer Reed may accompany Mr. Goodwin." Cole's lawyer objected. Reed read the order and decided Wolfe was right. Cole remained in the office while Reed followed me downstairs. The basement cabinet held 17 boxes. B17 was a narrow grey file case tied with cotton tape. The label read, EPS, Meridian Financial, Trust. Peter Marsh. Reed looked at it. This is the file he wants. It appears popular. I carried it upstairs. Cole stood when I entered. He did not wait for Wolfe to invite him. He reached for the case. I kept it out of reach and placed it before Wolfe. Wolfe untied the tape. Were 12 pages, 3 bank statements, a photograph, and a sealed envelope. The first page was a memorandum in my own typing. I remembered it only after reading the first paragraph. 2 weeks after we completed Eleanor Price's blackmail case, she had telephoned to report that an employee of Meridian Financial Trust wanted to speak privately with Wolfe. The employee, Peter Marsh, claimed the firm was duplicating client transactions and changing payment classifications after settlement. I had met Marsh at a coffee shop near Bryant Park. He was 38, thin, nervous, and employed as an internal auditor at Meridian. He gave me copies of 3 payment records, including Eleanor Price's fee to Wolfe. He said legitimate payments were being duplicated in Meridian's internal ledger. One version remained correct. The second was changed into an advance, refund, or temporary loan, and routed through related companies. Marsh believed the altered entries were being used to create false debts, conceal withdrawals, and seize businesses through default agreements. At the bottom of my memorandum I had typed, Marsh will return with original ledger and names of authorizing officers. He never returned. I looked at the next page. 3 days after our meeting, his apartment had been emptied. His employer said he resigned. His sister said he had vanished. No missing person report had been filed because a postcard arrived claiming he had moved to Canada. The postcard had no fingerprints except hers, Cole said. This is an unsupported allegation by a former employee. Wolfe looked up. You said you did not know him. I recognize the matter now. You recognize a man after declaring you had never heard his name. I remember an auditor who left under suspicion. Suspicion? What? Embezzlement? Was he charged? No. Was money missing? My financial officers believed so. Which officers? Cole's eyes shifted to the sealed envelope. Wolfe noticed. He picked it up. On the front Peter Marsh had written, to be opened only if I fail to return. The seal was unbroken. I had never seen the envelope. Wolfe must have received it after my meeting and placed it in the basement file without opening it because Marsh had not been officially declared missing. Cole stepped forward. That belongs to the agency. Wolfe held it away from him. It belongs to me. Marsh, he is gone, which does not make you his heir. Cole's lawyer said, the order covers all papers held by the agency. Officer Reed moved closer. Perhaps we should leave the envelope sealed until the judge rules. Wolfe looked at Cole. Why did you come for it? I came for all the records. No, you ignored every file except one. You knew Mrs. Price's payment had been examined. You knew Peter Marsh had contacted us. You knew he had provided documents. Cole's voice remained controlled. You cannot prove that. Wolfe tapped the envelope. You forged ownership of the agency to obtain this. Nonsense. You could have subpoenaed it if you had a legitimate claim. You could have sued. You could have asked the court to preserve it. Instead, you manufactured a loan, stole signatures, created a false company, manipulated service, and demanded immediate physical possession before we could inspect the records. Cole said nothing. Wolfe continued. The business was never the prize. The furniture was irrelevant. The files were too numerous. You wanted one thin folder containing the testimony of a missing witness. I opened the photograph. It showed Peter Marsh standing outside Meridian's office beside Lydia Shaw. On the back he had written, El Shah carried dupe, ledgers, to a Cole. Decem 6. Cole saw it. His control cracked. He reached across the desk. I caught his wrist. Officer Reed stepped between us. Cole pulled free. That photograph is stolen company property. Wolfe's eyes gleamed. Again, you know what you claimed not to know. Cole turned toward the door. Reed blocked him. No one leaves with any document. Cole faced Wolfe. You are making a grave mistake. No. Mr. Goodwin made the mistake when he signed without reading. You merely enlarged it. The sealed envelope remained between them, I said. Open it, Reed objected. Wolfe shook his head. Not yet. Cole stared at him. Wolfe continued. If Mr. Marsh is alive, the condition has not been met. If he is dead, opening it may alert the person responsible before we locate Miss Shaw. You think Lydia knows where he is? I asked. She either helped him disappear or helped Mr. Cole remove him, Cole said. This has nothing to do with the transfer. It is the transfer. Wolfe reteed the file case. Mr. Reed, this material must be placed in neutral custody until tonight. Why tonight? Because I intend to produce the truth before dinner. Officer Reed considered it. He placed the file case in his locked document bag, but Wolfe kept the sealed envelope under a separate written receipt. Cole's lawyer protested, until Reed reminded him that attempted seizure in the presence of an officer was not a persuasive legal method. Cole prepared to leave. At the office door, he turned. Peter Marsh was a thief, Wolfe said. Then you should welcome his evidence being examined. He fabricated records, then the records will fail. He tried to blackmail Meridian, then you should have prosecuted him. Cole's face had gone cold. You do not understand what you are protecting. Wolfe looked at the empty place on the desk, where Crampter's badge had rested during our previous case. I frequently protect objects before understanding their value. That is why I still possess a chair. Cole left with his lawyers. Officer Reed took the file case to the courthouse safe. When the front door closed, I returned to my desk. You knew about the Marsh file? I knew an auditor had approached us. I had forgotten the name. You never forget names. I had dismissed the inquiry because Mr. Marsh vanished before supplying proof. And you kept the envelope sealed. He instructed me to open it only if he failed to return. Absence is not always failure. It has been 6 months. Wolfe frowned. Your impatience does not define death. I looked at my old memorandum. Marsh exposed the duplicate payment method. Cole needed the file before we compared it to Eleanor Price's loan records. Yes. Lydia was photographed carrying ledgers to Cole. Yes. She stole Grant's seal, handled Hale, and obtained the Price receipt. Yes. So she built the legal side while Cole built the financial side. Likely. And Peter Marsh vanished because he discovered both. Wolfe closed his eyes. The sale of this agency was not acquisition. It was destruction disguised as ownership. Cole wanted the folder, and whatever Mr. Marsh placed in the envelope. I looked at the office clock. It was 10:53. The court hearing had been postponed until the next morning. We had gained one day, lost our ignorance, and found a witness who had been missing for 6 months. What now? Wolfe opened his eyes. Find Peter Marsh. Alive? Preferably. And Lydia Shaw? She will lead us to him or to the reason he cannot be found. I reached for the telephone. The false sale had been built from my signature, Wolfe's signature, Eleanor Price's money, Grant's seal, and a dead man's company. But its purpose fit inside one thin folder. Adrian Cole had not come to own Nero Wolfe's agency. He had come to erase the one investigation that could destroy his own. Chapter 6. The witness in the contract, Peter Marsh, had witnessed Wolfe's signature 6 months after disappearing. That was the kind of achievement that deserved investigation. The transfer agreement listed him on page 11, beneath a paragraph certifying that Nero Wolfe had signed the loan guarantee willingly, in full possession of his judgment, and in the presence of 2 witnesses. One witness was supposedly me. The other was Peter Marsh, internal auditor, formerly of Meridian Financial Trust. I read the line twice. Wolfe read it once. It was 11:30 in the morning. He sat behind his desk with the agreement, the court transcript, and 3 financial statements arranged in exact rows. Sunlight reached through the office windows and stopped at the edge of the rug, apparently unwilling to disturb him. I said, Cole used a missing man as a witness. An unavailable witness, Wolfe corrected. Death would be more convenient, but absence is sufficient. Marsh vanished before the guarantee was signed, according to the dates we possess, and his supposed address on the agreement. A post office box. I checked it. Opened under the name Paul Martin. Wolfe's eyes narrowed. By whom? The clerk remembers a thin man with wire glasses and a scar beside his right ear. Does Mr. Marsh have such a scar? The photograph in the file shows one. Wolfe leaned back. Then he may not be dead. Or somebody used a good description. Find him. That was an excellent instruction, except for the missing address, false name, frightened witnesses, and Adrian Cole's habit of purchasing silence wholesale. I began with the post office box. The application listed Paul Martin as a freelance accountant residing on West 91st Street. The address belonged to a boarding house whose manager had never heard of him. The emergency contact number belonged to a closed laundry. The box had received only 5 envelopes in 6 months. 4 came from Meridian Financial Trust. 1 came from Caleb Norris. That name had appeared in Simon Grant's personnel list. Norris was Grant's junior legal assistant, 29 years old, unmarried, and currently absent from work because of what Grant called a family emergency. Grant had not mentioned him when I asked who handled the Cole papers. Attorneys know how to omit a man without technically hiding him. I telephoned Grant. "Norris," I said. Silence. Then Grant answered. "What about him?" "He sent mail to Peter Marsh's false post office box." "I know nothing about that." "Not since yesterday." "Oh, before or after Lydia?" "Shaw disappeared." Grant hesitated. "After. Where is he?" "I do not know." "Where does he live?" "That information is confidential. Your office seal was stolen. Your assistant sent mail to the missing witness named on a forged agreement. Confidentiality is having a poor week." Grant gave me the address. Norris lived in Brooklyn, but his apartment was empty. A neighbor said he had left carrying 2 suitcases at 7 that morning. A taxi had taken him toward the train station. Lydia Shaw had vanished with 1 suitcase. Norris had taken 2. Either he was less efficient or expected a longer trip. I called Saul Panzer and gave him the railway terminals. Then I returned to the post office box and persuaded the clerk to notify me if Paul Martin appeared. At 2:10, he telephoned. I reached the station lobby in 8 minutes. The man at the box window was thin, wore dark glasses, and had a scar beside his right ear. He saw me reflected in the brass panel before I spoke and ran. He went through the side door, crossed the loading platform, and headed toward the avenue. He was quick for an accountant, but fear improves the legs without improving judgment. He turned into an alley that ended behind a furniture warehouse. I followed at a reasonable pace. When I entered the alley, he stood near the brick wall, holding a short metal bar. "Stay back." "Peter Marsh?" "No." "Paul Martin?" "No." "You are running out of names." He raised the bar. I said, "Stay back." I stopped 10 feet away. "Nero Wolfe has your sealed envelope." That reached him. The bar lowered 1/2 inch. "What envelope?" "The one you marked to be opened if you failed to return." His face changed. "How did you find it?" "Cole came to steal it." Marsh looked toward the alley entrance. "Are you working for him?" "I usually choose employers who own their own offices." He lowered the bar. "You are Goodwin." "I was when I woke up." He leaned against the wall. Up close, he looked older than his photograph. His cheeks were hollow, his coat was worn, and the skin beneath the dark glasses was pale. "Cole found me once," he said. "He will find me again." "Then stop helping him by running alone." I tried the police. "Which police?" "Captain Mercer's division." That name belonged to another unpleasant week, but it explained why Marsh had lost faith in official doors. What happened? My complaint disappeared. 2 days later, Cole knew what I had reported. "Why did you vanish?" "Because Lydia warned me." "Lydia Shaw?" "Yes. She helped create the false transfer. She helped Cole because she was afraid. Before that, she tried to help me." Marsh looked toward the street again. "We cannot talk here." I took him to an empty office, Saul kept for occasions when privacy and rent were both temporary. Saul had not found Norris at the stations, but he joined us 20 minutes later. Marsh sat near the window, refusing coffee. I placed a copy of the transfer agreement on the desk. "Your name is here as a witness." He read the paragraph. His face went white. "I never signed this. The signature resembles yours." It was copied. "You were alive when the agreement was prepared." "Yes." "Did Cole know where you were?" "Yes." "Start at the beginning." Marsh removed the dark glasses. A bruise, old but still visible, lay near his left eye. "After I found the duplicate entries at Meridian, I contacted Mrs. Price and then your office. I planned to bring the original ledger to Wolfe before I could. Lydia told me Cole had ordered an internal search for whoever accessed the payment records. She worked for Grant. She also handled legal documents for Cole's companies. Did she warn you?" "Voluntarily, yes." She said, "Cole had copies of my telephone calls. Why help you and later help him? Her brother owed money to one of Cole's private lenders. Cole threatened to prosecute him for fraud. Another frightened employee in a business built from pressure. Marsh continued. I left my apartment and stayed in motels. Cole's men found me after 3 weeks. He offered money if I signed a statement saying the duplicated payments were accounting corrections. How much? $50,000. Did you accept? No. What did he do? Had me held in a warehouse overnight. The next morning, Simon Grant's assistant came. Caleb Norris? Marsh nodded. Norris brought papers. He said Cole did not need my cooperation, only my absence. They offered me $10,000 and a new identity if I left New York. And if you refused, they showed me photographs of my sister and nephew. That method had become Cole's signature more reliably than anything on the contract. So you disappeared? Yes. I took the money and used the name Paul Martin. You let everyone believe you had fled after stealing from Meridian. I was alive. Barely. He accepted that. I pointed at Wolfe's supposed signature. Did you see this being made? Yes. When? At the warehouse. Saul moved closer. Marsh said. Norris had a broker authorization bearing Wolfe's genuine signature. He placed it beneath a blank guarantee and used a lighted glass panel to trace the signature. A light box. Yes. He practiced it several times. Did Lydia participate? She brought the authorization and the agency seal. Did she press the seal onto the agreement? Norris did. And my signature? Norris already had a sheet carrying it. A delivery receipt? Marsh nodded. The receipt was attached to the guarantee with a plastic binding strip. Your signature had transferred through carbon sheets onto a certification page. So the contract beneath the receipt was real, yes. Real paper, false purpose. Marsh looked at the agreement again. Norris assembled everything. Lydia supplied the stolen documents and seals. Cole supplied the financial records. Simon Grant? He knew parts of it. Which parts? He knew Norris prepared filing papers from documents Cole supplied. I do not know whether he knew the signatures were forged. Why use your name as witness? Because Cole believed I would remain hidden. If the contract was challenged, they could claim the second witness had disappeared after embezzling from Meridian. And if a court demanded you, Norris said they would produce an affidavit mailed from Canada. Did you sign any blank sheets? Marsh looked ashamed. Yes. When I accepted the money, they made me sign 3 blank declarations. There was the genuine piece beneath another lie. I said, come to the brownstone. No, Wolfe can protect you. Cole knows everyone I contact. He doesn't know about this office. Marsh looked at Saul. Saul said, he didn't follow you here. You cannot know I can. Marsh stood and paced. I need the ledger first. Where is it? In a storage locker. Number? I will retrieve it. You will not go alone. He shook his head. The locker is under another name. If anyone sees you, Cole will know. He already knows you are alive. But not where. I said your name is in the contract. Your testimony can destroy the transfer. My testimony can also get my sister killed. Where is she? Connecticut. Saul can arrange protection. Marsh looked at Saul again. Saul said, give me the address. After a long pause, Marsh did. Saul left to make arrangements. I telephoned Wolfe and reported the important parts. He listened without interruption. When I finished, he said, bring Mr. Marsh here. I am working on it. Do not permit him to leave alone. He wants the original ledger, then obtain it with him. He says exposure will warn Cole. Mr. Cole has already been warned by his own fear. Wolfe hung up. I returned to the main room. Marsh was gone. The rear door stood open. On the desk lay his dark glasses and a folded sheet torn from Saul's message pad. I opened it. Goodwin, Cole knows the box. He knows this place now. I saw Norris across the street. I cannot risk bringing them to Wolfe. The ledger is safe. Do not follow. PM. I went to the window. Across the street, people moved along the pavement. A delivery van pulled from the curb. A man in a grey hat turned the corner, but he was too far away to identify. I ran downstairs. Marsh was not on the street. I checked the subway entrance, the taxi stand, and both ends of the block. Nothing. When Saul returned 20 minutes later, I gave him the message. He read it once. Norris was here. Marsh says so. I checked the street before we entered. Then Norris arrived later, or Marsh imagined him. He didn't imagine the rear exit. We searched the neighborhood for an hour. No Marsh, no Norris, no ledger. I returned to the brownstone at 5:40. Wolfe was in the office drinking beer. The sealed envelope remained beneath the paperweight. I gave him Marsh's account and the message. Wolfe's expression darkened when I admitted allowing Marsh to disappear. He was frightened, I said. Fear does not make a man invisible. It helped. You had Saul. Saul left to protect the sister. You had yourself, I noticed. Wolfe closed his eyes. I placed the contract before him. Marsh saw Norris trace your signature, attach my receipt, and use the seal. He can prove the consent was forged. If he survives to speak, he left voluntarily. That does not guarantee his continued freedom. Cole may know the post office box, and Norris may have followed him. Yes, do we open Marsh's envelope now? Wolfe looked at it. No, he has failed to return twice. He is attempting to retrieve the ledger. His instruction may refer to permanent failure. That is a delicate way to say death. It is an accurate one. I sat at my desk. Why leave the glasses? To alter his appearance. Why leave the message? To prevent pursuit. Why mention Norris? To tell us who frightened him. Wolfe picked up the transfer agreement. Caleb Norris is no mere assistant. He assembled the physical fraud. He copied my signature, manipulated yours, used the stolen seals, and prepared the witness affidavits. Apparently, there is that word again, because Mr. Marsh saw Mr. Norris perform the acts. He did not see who designed them. Cole paid him to disappear. Yes. Cole needed the file destroyed. Yes. Cole controls Meridian. Then how much more design do you need? Wolfe put down the agreement. Enough to explain why Mr. Cole came personally to seize the agency when a lawyer could have obtained the file more quietly. Vanity, perhaps, or desperation. He looked at Marsh's note. Mr. Norris has discovered the witness. Mr. Cole knows the file still exists. The original ledger remains hidden. They must now act quickly. And so must we. Indeed. I reached for the telephone. To find Marsh? To find Caleb Norris. Wolfe rang for Fritz and requested beer for me in the city directory. Outside, evening shadows stretched across West 35th Street. Somewhere beyond the brownstone, Peter Marsh was running for the second time from men who had bought his disappearance but not his silence. His name remained on the transfer agreement as proof of a signature he had never witnessed. His real testimony could return the agency to Wolfe. If Adrian Cole reached him first, the only witness in the contract might become the one witness no court could call. Chapter 7. The sale that never happened. Wolfe invited 6 people to the brownstone for 9 o'clock and sent me to a warehouse where one of them was keeping a missing witness. That division of labor suited him. At 7:30, Adrian Cole, Simon Grant, Caleb Norris, Martin Hale, Eleanor Price, and Officer Thomas Reed had each received a message stating that Wolfe possessed evidence proving the transfer agreement fraudulent. Cole was told the meeting concerned preservation of his ownership claim. Grant was warned that his professional seal would be discussed. Norris was informed that Peter Marsh had been found. That last statement was not true yet. Wolfe expected us to improve it. The warehouse belonged to Alder Research Group. The company controlled through Cole's private secretary. According to Lon Cohen, it stood near the North River freight yards and was listed as storage for discontinued office equipment. According to a delivery driver Saul found, men had carried food, blankets, and medical supplies into it during the past 2 days. Office furniture rarely needs soup. Saul parked half a block away at 8:15. The warehouse was a 3-story brick building with steel shutters, 1 loading entrance, and a side door beneath a weak yellow lamp. A dark sedan stood in the alley. We approached from the riverside. The loading door was chained from inside. The side entrance had a new lock. Saul produced tools from his pocket, examined the cylinder, and opened it in less than a minute. "You could make an excellent criminal," I whispered. I disliked the hours. The air smelled of rope, machine oil, damp wood, and paper. Crates stood in rows beneath hanging lamps. Some bore Meridian financial labels. Others were marked as legal archives belonging to Grant, Wells, and Carter. Cole had built a warehouse full of people's mistakes. A stairway led upward. Voices came from the 2nd floor. Saul motioned left. I took the right. We reached a partitioned office with frosted windows. Through one clear strip I saw Peter Marsh seated in a wooden chair. His wrists were tied. A bruise darkened his cheek. Caleb Norris stood near him with a pistol held awkwardly in one hand. Norris looked worse than Marsh. His collar was open, his hair was damp, and his eyes kept moving toward the telephone. "You should have stayed gone," he told Marsh. Marsh said, "Cole will not let either of us live. He only wants the ledger. He already has enough to destroy me." "He promised protection." Marsh laughed softly. "He promised me money." A second man stood near the door. Broad shoulders, grey maintenance coat, no visible weapon. Saul leaned close to my ear. "I take the large one. I take the nervous lawyer." "Norris isn't a lawyer. He has the pistol. That gives him status." We entered together. The broad man turned. Saul reached him before he completed the motion and introduced his wrist to the edge of a desk. The pistol in his hand dropped before I had known he possessed one. Norris raised his weapon. I said, "Don't." He looked at me, his hand shook. "Goodwin, yes. You shouldn't be here. That sentence has failed all week. Stay back." Peter Marsh tried that with a metal bar. His performance had more conviction. Norris pointed the gun at Marsh. "I will shoot him." "No, you won't. You don't know what Cole has on me. I know you stole from Simon Grant's firm." His face changed. That was enough for Saul to move. Norris swung the gun toward him. I crossed the space, caught Norris's wrist and drove it against the desk. The pistol fell. Norris made one attempt to fight, reconsidered after meeting my shoulder, and sat hard on the floor. Marsh exhaled. "You took your time. I had invitations to arrange." I cut his wrists free. Saul secured both men while I searched the office. The original Price payment records were in a metal cash box beneath the desk. They showed Eleanor Price's $12,500 fee, correctly classified as professional income. Beside them lay a second ledger in which the same transaction had been enlarged and reclassified as a temporary advance. Wolfe. The stolen brass seal from Grant's office lay wrapped in cloth. The Wolfe agency seal rested beside it. In a flat folder I found 6 practice sheets. Each carried unfinished versions of Nero Wolfe's signature. Some were too narrow, some leaned too far. The final 2 were nearly exact. At the bottom of the folder was my delivery receipt, still marked along the left edge, where the removable binding strip had held it to the false certification pages. I held it up. "Original?" Marsh nodded. "Norris brought it here yesterday." Norris sat against the wall, breathing hard. I said, "Where did Lydia Shaw go?" "Cole sent her to Canada." "Voluntarily?" "I don't know." "Where is the original transfer agreement?" "At Grant's office." "Wrong. Grant says he received it from Cole's lawyers." Norris looked toward the cash box. Saul opened it farther. Beneath the financial records lay a second envelope containing the signed transfer agreement and several incomplete drafts. One draft lacked Wolfe's signature. Another carried my transferred witness signature but no seal. A third identified Peter Marsh as witness but left the address blank. The sale had been manufactured one layer at a time. Marsh stood slowly. "The ledger is there too. I found it beneath the drafts." It contained the duplicated Meridian transactions, shell company transfers, false advances, and forced defaults Cole had used against several small businesses. The Wolfe agency was only the latest target and the first capable of objecting intelligently. "I telephoned the brownstone," Wolfe answered. "We have Marsh," I said. "Alive. Norris too. Also both seals, the original Price records, the receipt, signature practice sheets, and the Meridian ledger. Condition of Mr. Marsh, bruised, annoyed, and conversational. Mr. Norris, ready to become honest if encouraged. Bring them. Leave Saul to secure the warehouse and notify Officer Reed privately. You have company? Mr. Cole arrived early. That shows concern. It shows poor manners. We left the warehouse at 8:40. In the car, Marsh sat beside me, while Norris rode in front. I had his pistol in my pocket and his fear in the rearview mirror. I asked, "Why did Cole keep the drafts?" Norris answered without turning. "He trusted documents more than people. That is becoming a theme. He kept everything until the court order became permanent. Then he planned to burn it." Marsh said, "He planned to burn us too." "No. You heard him at the warehouse. He said you would be moved." "To where?" Norris did not answer. I said, "Tell Wolfe the truth, and you may live long enough to learn the difference between prison and a furnace." He looked back at me. "Cole forced me." "By threatening what?" Norris swallowed. I stole client funds from Grant's escrow account, $40,000. I intended to replace it. Originality is dying. Cole discovered it. He said he would tell Grant and the district attorney unless I prepared documents for him. Who designed the transfer? Cole. Who traced Wolfe's signature? I did. Who attached my receipt? Did. Who stole Grant's seal? Lydia. The agency seal. She borrowed it from the insurance packet and never returned the original. Who paid Hale? I did. With Cole's money. Did Simon Grant know? He knew the filing had irregularities. He did not know the signatures were forged until later. And then, Cole threatened to expose that Grant had failed to report my escrow theft. It was a chain of blackmail. Cole did not hire accomplices. He purchased their fear. We reached the brownstone at 9:12. Peter Marsh was alive. Caleb Norris was ready to confess. And the stolen seals, payment records, and unfinished versions of Wolfe's forged signature were finally in our possession. Behind the office door waited Adrian Cole, the court officers, the attorneys, and Nero Wolfe. Cole still believed the agency belonged to him. He did not yet know that we were bringing Wolfe the witnesses and physical evidence that would destroy every page of his claim. I opened the office door. Fritz admitted us through the rear entrance. Marsh was taken upstairs briefly so he could wash his face and borrow a clean jacket. Norris remained with me in the kitchen until Wolfe rang. The office was full. Adrian Cole sat in the red leather chair. Simon Grant occupied the yellow chair. Martin Hale sat near the bookshelves, pale and restless. Eleanor Price sat beside Officer Reed, composed and interested. A second court officer stood near the door. Wolfe was behind his desk. The false transfer agreement lay before him. Cole saw Norris enter and stood. "What is he doing here?" "Improving the gathering," Wolfe said. Norris stopped near my desk. Cole's gaze shifted to me. "Where have you been? Inspecting your furniture?" His eyes hardened. Wolfe said, "Sit, Mr. Cole." Cole remained standing. Officer Reed spoke. "Sit." Cole obeyed the badge, if not the chair. I placed the stolen seals, original receipt, payment records, practice signatures, and draft agreements on Wolfe's desk. Grant leaned forward. "That is my office seal." "Yes," I said. Eleanor Price picked up one payment statement. "This is my original transaction." "Yes." Hale stared at the receipt. "That is the clipboard page." Wolfe looked at Norris. "Speak." Norris's voice was weak at first. "Mr. Cole ordered the documents prepared." Cole laughed. "An admitted thief accusing his employer," Norris continued. "He discovered I had taken money from Grant's escrow account. He threatened to report me unless I helped. Lydia Shaw supplied Wolfe's broker authorization and the agency seal. I traced Wolfe's signature from the authorization. I attached Mr. Goodwin's signed receipt to the certification pages with a removable binding strip. Hale said, "I delivered the packet. I did not prepare it." "You accepted money to swear you saw Mr. Wolfe sign," Norris replied. Hale looked down. Grant faced Norris. "You stole from my escrow account." "Yes." "And used my office seal." "Lydia took it, but I used it." Grant's face aged 5 years. Cole said, "This confession is coerced." I removed Norris's pistol from my pocket and placed it beside the papers. "He was holding Peter Marsh at your warehouse." Cole's composure slipped. "Marsh is a fugitive and embezzler." Wolfe looked toward the hall. I opened the door. Peter Marsh entered. Cole's face went still. Marsh walked to the center of the office and pointed at him. He paid me to disappear after I refused to support the false agreement. When I tried to retrieve the original Meridian ledger, his men took me to the warehouse. Cole said, "You accepted money to stay alive. You stole company records to prove your fraud." Wolfe raised a hand. "Enough. Motives may be judged later. The contract can be judged now." He lifted my original receipt. "Mr. Goodwin signed this page acknowledging delivery of an insurance packet. His signature is genuine," Cole said. "It also appears on the witness certification through carbon transfer onto a page hidden beneath the receipt. A signature remains a signature." "No." Wolfe's voice became colder. "A signature authenticates the text presented to the signer. It does not authorize words concealed beneath another document and attached later. Mr. Goodwin never saw the guarantee, never witnessed my consent, and never certified the transfer." Cole turned to Reed. "The court accepted it. Because the method was concealed, Reed said. Wolfe picked up the signature practice sheets. My signature was traced from a broker authorization. These drafts show the attempts. The final agreement carries a copied signature, a stolen agency seal, Mr. Goodwin's transferred signature, and Mr. Marsh's names, supported by a blank declaration obtained under threat. Marsh said, I never witnessed Wolfe sign anything. Wolfe placed the false agreement beside the original Price record. The debt is equally false. Mrs. Price paid this agency a fee. Cole's financial companies duplicated that transaction and changed its classification from earned income to borrowed money. A genuine payment became the foundation of an imaginary loan. Eleanor Price said, I never lent Mr. Wolfe a cent. Cole's lawyer was absent, which was unfortunate for Cole and considerate of the furniture. Cole stood again. You have witnesses who committed theft, perjury, and concealment. Yes, Wolfe said. That is why the documents are useful. Paper does not become honest merely because the witnesses are compromised. He pointed one by one. The original receipt proves what Mr. Goodwin signed. The removable binding marks prove pages were substituted. The pressure impressions prove my name was copied from beneath. The practice sheets prove Mr. Norris traced it. The stolen seals prove unauthorized execution. The price records prove the debt was manufactured. The drafts prove the transfer was assembled after the signatures were obtained. Officer Reed closed the court folder. There was no valid agreement. No, Wolfe said. There was a receipt, a copied signature, and a stack of false pages pretending to have met. Cole looked around the office. For the first time since entering the brownstone, he understood that none of it belonged to him. Not the files, not the furniture, not the chair. Wolfe leaned back. The sale never occurred. The second court officer stepped beside Cole. Reed said, Adrian Cole, you will remain while I contact the court and the district attorney. Cole looked at Norris. You fool, Norris answered quietly. You chose me because I was afraid. Yes, Wolfe said, and you failed because frightened men eventually search for another master. Cole turned toward the door. The officer blocked him. Fritz appeared in the hall, took one look at the gathered faces, and announced that dinner would be served in 20 minutes. Wolfe frowned. 15. Fritz nodded. Even a fraudulent transfer could not be permitted to damage the kitchen schedule. On Wolfe's desk lay the original receipt, the stolen seals, and the unfinished signatures that had nearly removed us from the brownstone. My carelessness had opened the first door. Cole's coercion had built the rest of the house. Now Peter Marsh was alive. The documents were exposed, and the new owner had discovered that he had never owned a thing. Chapter 8. The owner removed. The final gathering began at 9:20, with Adrian Cole still insisting that he owned the chair in which he was forbidden to sit. Officer Thomas Reed had placed him in a straight-backed chair near the bookshelves. A second court officer stood beside the office door. Simon Grant occupied the yellow chair, looking like a lawyer who had discovered that silence could not be billed. Martin Hale sat near my desk with both hands around an untouched cup of coffee. Caleb Norris had been given a chair beside the Globe and watched Cole as if expecting the man to pull another contract from his sleeve. Eleanor Price sat in the red leather chair. Peter Marsh stood near the filing cabinets. Wolfe was behind his desk, which remained exactly where it had been before Cole began buying it with imaginary money. The evidence lay in front of him, my original receipt, the false transfer agreement, the stolen seals, Mrs. Price's banking records, Norris's practice sheets, Peter Marsh's Meridian ledger, the unfinished drafts of Wolfe's signature. Fritz had closed the office doors and withdrawn. Dinner had been delayed by 11 minutes, and the household considered that sacrifice sufficient. Cole looked at Officer Reed. You cannot hold me here on the word of thieves, Reed said. You are not under arrest yet. Then I am leaving, no. Cole turned to Wolfe. This performance changes nothing. The court order remains valid until a judge withdraws it. Wolfe's eyes half closed. The order was granted upon fraudulent evidence. Mr. Reed has already spoken with the judge. It will not survive the evening. You are not the court. No, I am the man whose chair you tried to steal. I was at my desk with my notebook open. My signature had caused enough trouble. I intended to make the record behave. Wolfe placed one finger on the transfer agreement. Mr. Cole claims this document transferred my detective agency to him after I failed to repay a private loan. The claim rests upon 4 supposed facts. First, that I borrowed money through companies controlled by Mr. Cole. Second, that I guaranteed a loan made to Harcourt Investigative Services. Third, that Mr. Goodwin witnessed my consent. Fourth, that Peter Marsh independently observed my signature, Cole said. Those facts were accepted by the court. They were arranged for the court. Wolfe lifted Mrs. Price's original payment record. Mrs. Price, did you borrow money on my behalf? No. Did you lend money to me? No. What was the payment of $12,500 made through Meridian Financial Trust? My fee for your service it earned? Painfully. I smiled. Wolfe did not, he continued. Mrs. Price paid this agency after we resolved a blackmail matter. The payment passed through Meridian, a financial company controlled through Mr. Cole's related businesses. It was properly classified as payment for professional services. Cole said, that does not address the later loan, it creates it. Wolfe placed the altered ledger beside the genuine record. The original transaction was copied. Its routing number, reference code, receiving account, and client identification were retained. The amount was enlarged. Its classification was changed from professional fee to temporary advance. A genuine payment was recorded a second time and presented as money borrowed by me. Eleanor Price looked at Cole. Your company later sent me a refund. Wolfe nodded. Not from Meridian's receiving account. From Alder Research Group, another company controlled by Mr. Cole. The refund persuaded Mrs. Price that her original payment had been cancelled. Our bank continued to show the fee as received. Mr. Cole's private records showed a second entry, described as a loan. Each side possessed a genuine-looking record because the fraud had been built from genuine money. Officer Reed examined the statements again. Cole said, related companies settle obligations for each other. Why would Alder Research refund a fee paid to me? An accounting correction. There was no error. You cannot prove intent. Wolfe looked toward Peter Marsh. Mr. Marsh can. Marsh stepped forward and placed one hand on the back of the empty chair beside him. I audited Meridian's internal books. The duplicate entries were deliberate. Cole used them to create false debts against businesses he wanted to seize. A legitimate payment would be copied, changed into a loan, and supported with altered notices and guarantees. Cole's face tightened. You stole those records. I copied them after you ordered me to erase them. You embezzled money. No money was missing. You disappeared because you paid men to find me. Cole turned toward Reed. He accepted money from me. Marsh did not look away. I accepted $10,000 after Cole threatened my sister and nephew. He ordered me to leave New York and remain unavailable if the Wolfe agreement was challenged. Wolfe said, Mr. Cole did not require Mr. Marsh's testimony. He required his absence. A missing witness could be represented by affidavit, particularly if his reputation had already been damaged. Hale shifted in his chair. Wolfe looked at him. Mr. Hale, describe the papers Mr. Goodwin signed. Hale swallowed. A delivery receipt was on top. Other sheets were attached beneath it with a removable plastic binding strip. Could Mr. Goodwin see the text on the lower sheets? No. Were carbon transfer sheets placed beneath his signature lines? Yes. Did he sign the transfer agreement? No. He signed the receipt. Wolfe picked up my original receipt. The marks along the left edge correspond to the removable strip. Goodwin's signature appears here, where he acknowledged delivery of insurance papers. Its transferred impression appears on the witness certification beneath it. Cole said, a signature is a signature. Wolfe's eyes opened fully. No, the word stopped him. A signature authenticates the document placed before the signer. It does not authorize hidden text, substituted pages, or an agreement assembled later. Mr. Goodwin witnessed no loan, no guarantee, and no transfer, I said. I witnessed a clerk delivering a packet and my own failure to read it. Wolfe glanced at me. We will discuss the second offense later. There was only one. See that there is never another. Norris lowered his eyes. Wolfe turned to him. Mr. Norris, did you prepare the agreement? Yes. Under whose direction? Adrian Cole's. Cole laughed without humor. He is an admitted thief avoiding prosecution. Norris's voice became steadier. I took money from Simon Grant's escrow account. Cole discovered it. He threatened to expose me unless I made the papers. Grant looked at Norris. How much? $40,000. Grant closed his eyes briefly. Wolfe said, "Continue." Norris pointed toward the practice sheets. Cole gave me Wolfe's broker authorization. Lydia Shaw had taken it from the insurance file. It carried Wolfe's genuine signature and the agency seal. I placed the authorization beneath a blank guarantee and traced the signature on a lighted panel. Did Mr. Wolfe sign any loan paper? No. Did Mr. Goodwin witness him? No. Who used the agency seal? I did. The seal belonging to Mr. Grant's office? Lydia stole it from the cabinet. I used it on the filing certificate. Simon Grant leaned forward. Did Cole know the seal was stolen? Yes, Cole said. That is false. Norris looked at him. You told me a real seal mattered more than a real lawyer. The office was quiet. Wolfe selected the unfinished signatures. Here are the attempts. The first is too narrow. The second has an incorrect final stroke. The third lacks pressure at the beginning. The later versions approach my hand because Mr. Norris practiced from the genuine model. Officer Reed took the sheets and compared them with the final agreement. They matched the progression. Wolfe inclined his head. The signature was not written once in my presence. It was manufactured repeatedly until acceptable. Cole stood. This is a conspiracy of compromised witnesses. Hale committed perjury. Norris stole funds. Marsh took company records. Grant concealed irregularities. Price cannot interpret banking systems. Goodwin admits he signed without reading. I said, you left out Wolfe. That is risky in his office. Cole faced Wolfe. You have no honest witness. Wolfe leaned back. I have documents that expose dishonest ones. He tapped the receipt. This proves what Archie signed, the practice sheets. These prove how my signature was copied, the stolen seals. These prove the agreement was authenticated without authority, the original price records. These prove the debt arose from earned income, not borrowed funds. The Meridian Ledger. This proves the duplication method was used systematically. The draft contracts. These prove the final agreement did not exist when the signatures were obtained. Then Wolfe looked at Marsh. And Mr. Marsh proves that I never signed in his presence. Marsh, I saw Norris copy the signature. Wolfe was not there. Wolfe turned to Grant. Did you prepare the transfer? No. Did you authorize the use of your seal? No. Did you know Mr. Goodwin's receipt would be attached to the agreement? No. Did you witness my consent? No. Grant looked at Officer Reed. I should have reported the irregularities when I discovered them. I did not. Cole threatened to expose Norris's theft and my failure to detect it. Wolfe said, Cowardice completed what greed began. Grant accepted the sentence. Cole moved toward the door. The second officer blocked him. Cole said, I demand counsel. Reed answered, You may have counsel after the district attorney arrives. I am not under arrest. Not for another minute. Wolfe looked at the office clock. That is a real minute, Mr. Cole. You may observe the difference. Cole's face had lost the polished calm he brought to the brownstone. He looked older, smaller, and less expensive. He pointed at the filing cabinets. You had evidence against my company. You intended to ruin me. No, Wolfe said. Peter Marsh brought an incomplete accusation and vanished. I preserved his material because uncertainty is not permission to destroy evidence. You hid the file. I protected it. You were going to use it. After you forged ownership of my agency, certainly, Cole's voice rose. You think this was about your chair? No. You never cared about the chair, the desks, the files as a whole, or the detective business. You required one thin folder containing Peter Marsh's records. The transfer was not intended to acquire the agency. It was intended to enter the file room under authority of law, seize the price material, and destroy the only evidence linking you to Meridian's duplicate debt scheme. Eleanor Price said, You tried to turn my payment into a weapon. Cole looked at her. You were one transaction among hundreds. That is not a defense. Wolfe said, It is a confession of scale. Cole realized it too late. Officer Reed closed the court folder. I have the judge's instruction. The possession order is withdrawn immediately. All property remains with Nero Wolfe, pending the fraud investigation. I looked around the office. The books remained on the shelves. The Globe stayed in its corner, The red leather chair held Mrs. Price. My desk still belonged to me, though Wolfe might have argued that my unread signature had placed it on probation. Reed continued. Adrian Cole, you are being detained for fraud upon the court, conspiracy, forgery, unlawful imprisonment, and related financial offences. The second officer stepped forward. Cole backed away. This is not over. Wolfe looked at him. It never began. Reed took Cole's arm. Cole turned toward Norris. You will go to prison with me, Norris said. Probably. That answer seemed to wound Cole more than denial. The officers took him out. Hale was told to remain available for the district attorney. Grant would surrender the full Cole files and report the theft from his escrow account. Norris would give a complete statement under guard. Peter Marsh would enter protective custody after identifying the remaining Meridian records. Mrs. Price rose. I assume I will not be billed twice for tonight. Wolfe inclined his head. Once will be sufficient. She smiled and left with Reed. When the office emptied, Fritz entered to announce that dinner could still be rescued if we came immediately. Wolfe looked at the clock. 7 minutes late. Fritz said nothing, but his face suggested the roast had suffered more than the court. Wolfe stood. I gathered the papers into separate folders. The agency remains exactly where it was, I said. It was never elsewhere. Cole had an order. He had paper. The court believed it. The court was deceived. I signed the receipt. Wolfe stopped at the dining room door. Yes, I admitted it. Admission is not prevention. You plan to continue this for years, if necessary. I put down the receipt. A man can survive an enemy's cleverness. Sometimes. He can survive one careless signature. Wolfe looked at me. Perhaps. But not twice. His lips pushed out. A man may survive an enemy's cleverness, Archie. He should never depend upon surviving his own unread signature twice. He went to dinner. I followed. The brownstone had been returned to its proper order, without moving an inch. Wolfe's chair remained behind his desk. The files remained locked. The orchids remained upstairs. And Adrian Cole owned nothing but the consequences of his paperwork. The forged agreement had contained genuine signatures, genuine seals, genuine bank entries, and genuine fear. What it had never contained was a sale.